Hey everybody, it's Rob Ziegler, and in today's video, I'm going to talk a little bit about what applications the pro editors use. So this is either going to be the shortest video I've ever made or the longest because I don't know how to do short videos, but I'll try to keep it short. It's not clickbait or anything. I'm going to jump right into the answer for you so you don't have to scroll through an index of time code or anything like that. What programs do the pros use? The answer is all of them, really. Now, hey, listen, before you go and switch off to another video off to the side here, click out of this tab, let me explain just a little bit. Now, a lot of you guys have been watching my channel as a photography channel, which is my passion and honestly a hobby. My main job, however, for the past decade and 15 years before that was post-production and visual effects and animation editing. So I've worked at various visual effects studios and animation studios around the world for the past decade or so and worked on a bunch of movies. And one of the things I've noticed working at these studios is that you never really know what program you're going to come up against. And I think the four big ones for me are Final Cut, Adobe Premiere, Avid Media Composer, and now DaVinci Resolve. So those are the four big ones as far as I'm concerned. There are other editing programs out there, don't get me wrong, but I do feel like those are more consumer grade and not really ones that you're going to find at a studio. So let me explain just a little bit. Back in 2012, when I lived in Sydney, I was working on the Lego movie, and surprisingly for 2012, they were doing it on Final Cut Pro 7. Now, a lot of people have used Final Cut Pro X or 10 or whatever you want to call it, but I don't really know if it was that established back then. I know it had a lot of problems when it first came out. It made a lot of people jump ship. They didn't want to go from 7 to 10 or X or whatever, so they ended up going to Premiere or something like that. But Lego, Animalogic, we were using Final Cut Pro 7, believe it or not. It was just a very robust application, and it had a lot of key features that you needed for sort of an animation pipeline. So that was the one that we were using back then. And it was also the one I had used previously at Digital Domain, which is a visual effects studio, and the studio in Florida. So Final Cut Pro 7 was a really robust editor with a lot of traction in the industry. All that being said, though, even for 2012, it was kind of long in the tooth, right? So nowadays, you're not going to see Final Cut Pro 7 anywhere, but I think Final Cut Pro X or 10, again, I seriously don't know which one it is. Somebody help me out in the comments. X, 10, you know what I'm talking about, right? They skipped 8 or 9 if they went to 10, but Final Cut Pro X, we'll just call it X for now. So I don't really know if you're going to see Final Cut Pro X used in a lot of animation or features or visual effects heavy studios, but documentaries, certainly, I'm sure some documentaries are cut on that. There may even be some serious cut on it. I know there have been some films cut on Final Cut Pro X. I should say that. I don't know exactly what they are off camera right now, but I know there have been some, but it's not as widely used. So Final Cut Pro X is out there. The other one that's really big is, the biggest one I know of is Avid Media Composer, and that's the one that I use at work. That's the one I have been using for the past 5 years. And Avid it's a little bit different in the way that it works. It's got older database code, and the way that it operates is a little bit more finicky. They've upgraded their software now to be like a 2019 version, but it's just not something that I want to jump into right now. It's sort of their way of competing with Premiere and Resolve. I'm sure it's a much more responsive GUI and a responsive interface, but when you're working in a production environment, one of the things that you do not want to do at all is do a crazy software upgrade, especially in the middle of production. So we just finished up on Scoob. We're working on Rumble for Paramount. There's other things happening at that studio. We're not going to be upgrading to a whole new version of Avid and just essentially be beta testers for them. So we're still on like one of the later 2018 versions. But that's what you need for a stable production. So Avid Media Composer, by far, that's the one that most of the studios that we work with out of LA or out of Hollywood, they're working in Avid, we're working in Avid, we share bins back and forth. So Avid is the big one. If you want to work in feature films, you definitely want to cut your teeth on Avid just a little bit. Get the free version and download that and get some experience with it. Certainly Adobe Premiere is the one that a lot of you will know already. It's included in the Adobe CC package. Plenty of YouTubers use it. Documentaries are cut on Adobe Premiere. TV shows, late night TV shows are cut on Adobe Premiere. I'm sure there have been features on it. Premiere, for me, that's what I started out with when I was a 15-year-old kid. I got a version of Premiere. I think it was like 5.1 or something. I don't know. It was a really old version. But yeah, that was the one that I first used. And it's gotten great. I haven't used Premiere in a very long time. But I really like what they're doing with like the Lumetri color stuff and the LUTs. And really the strength of Adobe Premiere is its integration with After Effects and Photoshop, and just that being able to handle files back and forth really quickly, really easily, and accessibility too, right? By including it with the package, the Adobe CC package, you're getting a lot of people that have access to that software. So just by the sheer number of people that have access to it is one of the reasons it's the most popular app for people who are doing YouTube videos. But that brings me to my next application, which is DaVinci Resolve. Now, they have a paid version of DaVinci Resolve. I'm not actually paying for that version. I have the free version of Resolve that they offer. It offers 95% of the functionality that I think anybody would need. I do miss the noise reduction not being there, and some of the effects aren't available, and you can't do like group projects. But I mean, again, it's just me. I'm working by myself here doing these YouTube videos and other projects at home. And it'd be great for freelance and stuff like that. If I were working in a situation like I do at a studio job, then yeah, I'd probably want to do the paid version, get all those extra features, have the cross compatibility with other people working on stuff at the same time. Those are very important in production environments. But for being at home, Resolve, the free version, is fantastic. And not only that, but Resolve is very responsive. You can, as you're playing the timeline, you can go ahead and change parameters and update things, and the timeline will keep playing for you. It's dynamic. It doesn't change playback speed or halt or pause or anything like that. I think that's what Avid was trying to go with their new 2019 version, was to be more competitive with interfaces like what Resolve is. But Resolve kind of blows it away even further. It includes the color tab, which is all of Resolve's color grading power built into that one application, which is incredible on its own. It used to be incredible, but now to have an edit suite along with it, that is very robust edit suite, by the way. Take it from me, I know what I'm talking about. To have all that power and Fairlight audio processing and a great delivery tab to queue up multiple delivery formats, MXF support, it's just fantastic. It's just a really, really, really nicely done package by Blackmagic. So what programs or applications are the pros using? Well, like I said, those are the big four, right? But the thing I want you to remember about video editing, or film editing for that matter, is that these programs, for as different as they may sound, they're all the same, right? Because all a video editing application is media management and a timeline, right? There's a way to get media into the application, a timeline to edit it on, and then a way to get the media back out. And that's the one thing that all of these guys have in common, including LumaFusion, which is the iPad Pro app for video editing, which is a fantastic application too. So everything along the way, everything aside from media in, timeline, media out, it's all just bells and whistles. Whether or not those bells and whistles are something that you need for your production, that's up to you. There's virtually a free version, or at least a free trial, of all of these applications out there for you to test out. But my recommendation, if you're just making YouTube videos or if you're just doing a documentary film, look into Resolve. It's really great. I'm a little scorn on Premiere. I see a lot of people that are having errors and crashes, especially with some new versions. I think Adobe updates that application a lot. I used to get really long render times with Adobe Premiere, and Final Cut Pro and Resolve seem to blow Premiere out of the water for exports. So keep that in mind. Last but not least, certainly if you're working with a major studio or a major freelance company, you have to share bins. There's a lot of people that are gonna be working inside the project with you at the same time. Avid's going to be something you want to look into. It's a weird learning curve to get into it, but once you finally do, you're going to be fine. And along those lines, I want to mention one more thing. Don't be afraid of applying for a job if you want to do video editing or film editing, and they're asking for a video editing application that you've never used before. If you're a Final Cut person and they want Avid, or if you're a Premiere person and they want Resolve, or if you're a Resolve person and they want one of those other applications, don't shy away from applying. Show them what you've done. Freely offer in the interview process that you don't have proficiency in what they're looking for. If they need it, absolutely need it right off the bat, square one. That's something that you want to get out there just to get that known. But more often than not, if you're the right person for the job, there's always going to be a little bit of a trial by fire. Get in there and just take all the experience that you have and find out how to get the media in, find out how to navigate the timeline, find out how to get the media out, and you're gonna be just fine. So that's it for this one, guys. I told you a little bit longer than I wanted to be, but again, mostly photography stuff on this channel up to now. I will be doing more stuff on editing and some discussions on the films that I've worked on, and maybe some tips and tricks like the ones I just shared. So if you like that stuff, be sure to subscribe. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.